Phantom pain. Phantom power. You got to turn on the phantom power if you want your passive microphone to get the audio signal talking. Birds. 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 Phantom power birds. Phantom pain birds. Phantom power birds. Birds. Phantom pain and phantom power. You've got to turn on the phantom power if you want to hear the microphone that does not have its own internal power. Go birds. Birds. Yeah, birds. Birds, 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 birds. Phantom power birds. Birds. Phantom power. Phantom pain. You've got to turn on phantom power if you want the passive microphone that does not have power to get the signal. Birds. Hey guys. I don't know what that was about. It was just a little, a little something. Greetings, programs. It's old Hanker and Fernell here. Welcome back to Runehammer. Look at all this wonder around. Look at these gleaming white walls. There are action figures, plastic people here. We have too many of the same book. Hi, guys. Welcome to Monday. It's Monday evening. How bizarre is that? So I know everybody's always trying to jump on in at different times to catch streams live and everything. So, why not mix it up a little bit, because they all get archived anyway. But it's Monday afternoon. It's Monday evening. Dinner time is done. And it's time to face the music. It's time to get ready. So, hi, everybody. I hope you all had a great weekend. Welcome to Monday. How bizarre is that? Glad you all could tune in. What are we talking about right now? Well, there's a lot going on in loopy land over here. So as people who like to roll dice and play with tiny plastic people all the damn time and talk about it a lot of the time, every once in a while there's a crescendo of things, and May is one of those times. There's a lot going on in May. I mean, you know how spring is. Life returns to the world. Everybody starts to get all psyched and whatnot. So, hi, what's the deal? Well, I'll tell you. The end of this week, at the end of the weekend, and then on into the beginning of next week, we are going to be concluding the second season of the Dirty Jobs campaign. So, as just one sec, I have to adjust this over here. There we go. Oh God, dear Lord, I had to turn on the phantom power. Okay. See, that's how easy it is for me to lose my train of thought. My IQ, my mental CPU is that tiny. Okay, so we are going to be ending season 2 of the Dirty Jobs campaign. Just complete vapor lock. So it's going to be session 39 or so. So what we did was we got ourselves an Airbnb for a couple of nights, and we're going to do sort of a somewhat marathon style. So in these couple of nights at this house, we're going to do 3 sessions, probably about 6 hours each. So we're looking at a solid 18 hours over a couple of days of gaming to wrap up the basically the whole sort of campaign. This campaign was a little shorter than season 1 for many reasons. One, scheduling, as the world returned to quote unquote normal, scheduling got a little wacky and everything. And so, in some ways, it took us almost as long to do half as many sessions as it did before. So you still get that feeling of like, this campaign's been going on forever. It just doesn't have as many sessions under its belt. So it is a bit shorter. But for some reason, it feels like we're catapulting toward the finale of this season. Once that thought enters the players' minds, I think it's quite difficult to eradicate such a thing. It gets in your head that this sort of some kind of big ending is coming. And I don't want to really be the guy to say, no, nobody gets any Lucky Charms. I don't want to be that guy. So you kind of just embrace that this finale is coming. And it just feels like the timing is right. So yeah, we're going to do this marathon. So we're looking at like I said, like 18 hours of gaming to wrap things up. And so what I wanted to talk about on this week's live stream was like how I sort of will be dealing with being quote unquote ready for that experience. So, here's my remarkable, and here's my notes on sort of the basics of what I'm sort of hoping to understand or capture for this weekend finale. And as you can see, my notes are extremely brief. That's probably not all I need. I'm going to need some index cards and some other stuff. But what I wanted to focus on was like conceptually how I go into this, and then what are sort of currently our only sort of go-to table book, which is Shadowdark, how that's going to be used in this sort of process. And so I've broken it down into three parts. Now, if you guys have been following the recaps that I do, you know that these characters are like deep, deep underground, and they're basically going to find this sort of infinite evil that is the root of vampiric forces. It's this dream traveling entity that's kind of geologic in its friggin' scale, and it's kind of crazy. They're really not even sure what they're up against. They're starting to think that this is kind of like a one-way trip, that there's no way home, that they'll never leave this deep cavern, that this is like going to be their doom. And that's another one of these ideas that once it kind of gets going in your head, it starts sounding kind of interesting and intriguing, but really not up to me to mess with that, right? So, how many times have all of us running games asked, like, how do I do this? Like, here comes this ending. And not only are endings hard to do in novels and stories and movies, anything, it's hard to get like nail the ending. Not only is that coming up, but like, how do I do it as a game master, right? When do things work? And the short answer is, I don't know. I don't know. But what I can do is talk you through sort of how I'm going to try to get myself ready to not know. If that makes any sense. The first step is absolutely accepting that you can't just make it awesome because of all this intellectual powerhousing that you're going to do. I've noticed a lot that on sort of the world of D&D YouTube these days, there's so much thinking from so many different angles coming at us as hobbyists, and a lot of it is so well produced or tightly edited or even brilliantly thought out. Like, these are great ideas, just storms of them. I've found that even with all this resource that we now sort of rock week to week, right? No matter who you follow on YouTube, or if you don't follow much of it all, or if you follow a ton of sort of creators and advice givers on YouTube, it does ask you to have like this like intellectual horsepower to be able to lift all this material conceptually and somehow translate, compact, and deliver it to the table, which is just like, oh my God. So for me, the first step that I want to do is I'm just going to accept that I just have no clue really, what's going to happen and exactly how to do this. And just that right there. And I'm not giving this advice. Remember, I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. So I'm kind of trying to get past the mindset of giving advice to people, and much more just trying to tell you guys my state of existence. I think it's just, maybe to me, just feels a little more authentic than this kind of endless churn of sort of so-called advice, right? So first step I'm going to do, I have no idea what's going to happen, if this is going to be a big, great ending or if it's going to fizzle. I don't know what the players really are going to do when you put them into a bit of a pressure cooker, and I'm going to accept that. Now, I just kind of gave a sense for something I can control, and so I'm going to latch onto that. And this was kind of the second part of my notes here. You can see it's kind of like in three pieces. And my second part of the notes is what I just mentioned, the pressure cooker. I can still do that. I can still do that. I can create a pressure cooker, right? I can put situations onto them that the world would believably produce, right? I still control that part of the game. So I don't know what they're going to do or how it's going to go or how reactions will occur, but I can induce pressure in the world. And so, by the way, real quick, if any of the Dirty Jobs crew are watching, absolutely get out of here. Do not watch this stream. It's going to be jam-packed with spoilers. So go away. I will give you a few moments to go away. And they're gone. Okay, so what is this pressure cooker? So first of all, I have the beginning. So remember, I have three pieces here. Now, the beginning of the weekend is what I'm calling reaching Caligos. Okay, so my players are currently existing purely in a realm of rolled stuff that comes straight out of the Shadowdark book. Now, I'm, oddly lucky and fortunate in that I'm one of the only two people out there that has a physical copy of Shadowdark right now. So we can really effectively use Shadowdark at our table to explore completely unknown realms as they go down darker and darker into the sort of underdark below, in our world, what's called Runmanir, this under mountain. And not knowing what's going on there is perfectly fine. We're going to use like Shadowdark, exploration tables and counter tables. We're going to use Shadowdark to get our monsters, like some classic D&D monsters, and to make treasure as well and see what we find, if anything. And we're going to keep doing that with the agreement that 6 descents, we have sort of a what kind of tunnel do you find roll that we do. Is it going up or down? You need to get 6 consecutive descents in order to get deep enough to go to the next portion. So I don't even know how long this sort of introductory portion is. It can be relatively short, or it can kind of go on for quite so long they might even bail on this whole project. Either way, that first part is just like Shadowdark just oozing out the walls. It's just letting the book tell us what's down there. And for that function, it's an absolutely great artifact, and the only book we really sort of keep at our table as our official resource right now. And so that's like bango. We've got that in the bag. Kelsey did all the hard work for us as far as making Shadowdark with as much drippy, cool flavor as she did. And so honestly, that opening session, I know it's going to be a home run. We're going to be rolling dice. We're going to get some surprising, weird encounters. There's going to be like too many fucking lizard men. There's going to be like something dumb like Eder caps or so, something overly traditional where it's like, so they're like spider people. Come on, get out of here. But we do have a policy, like we completely trust and go with the encounters that we roll as they're written. And sometimes they're absolutely terrible and it's just run away instantly. Other times they're pushovers, because that's kind of the nature and in a way the fun of random encounters. So I know that first third is going to be relatively handled. Okay. So I don't have to sweat that part. And that's good, because that's also when I need to be breaking down everybody's barriers. Remember, this is a marathon of D&D. This is 2 long days of D&D. We're only really taking a break to eat and sleep. So in that opening, what I want to do is I want to break them down. And I don't mean make them tired so much as remove all their sort of inhibition to role play and to not be in the world. One of the fun things about playing multiple days in a row and not going anywhere or really sort of knowing people in the area, that's why it's good to get away from where you live, is that you do really become immersed in the world. And I know that word gets tossed around a lot, but when it comes to playing in a long marathon like this, immersion is absolutely real. You're in there. You're really in there. This is like the exact thing that like parents were terrified of in the late 80s. Like, it is highly immersive and super weird. It's Tom Hanks level. It's Pardue level, bro. You're going to be fucking with some Pardue stuff. So in that opening part, using all these tables, we're just going to break down our inhibitions to not role play and not be inside this world, and just break it all down and get these wheels turning, right? So that's the first part. So if you're facing a challenge like what I'm facing, you can at least face that first third with complete comfort, right? The tables are going to do the work. I just have to have a lot of energy. I'm going to need a Red Bull, and I'm going to need to be happy. And I might need a little glass of whiskey, and we're going to have a great time. Okay, so then we come into the middle chapter of these 3 large sessions we're going to play. And this is where I bring in what I mentioned earlier tonight, which is ye old pressure cooker. It's a very heavy lid. That's basically the magic technology that makes a pressure cooker work, is a very heavy lid. And in this case, the very heavy lid is going to be this dream power that Caligos has. Now, to really get a sense for what the hell I'm even talking about, it might bear a little bit of explanation what this is. So Caligos is a few things. It's a creature which I have sitting right next to me here. I'll show you in a second. But it's also this geologic like location. It's like a river of blood that is sort of some kind of primordial source of evil that really can never be truly destroyed. It could be delayed for a sort of reprieve from its evil influence. Kind of like how a volcano goes dormant. The volcano isn't gone. It's just its destructive influence is temporarily dormant or not present, right? And so Kaligos is both a creature which moves through dreams, and it's like a location, like an elemental location. Okay, so these two things are what I'm going to play with and the interplay. And so when they get deep enough down into the earth, this is what they need to find. And there are a couple pieces here. The smallest piece I have yet to mention, which I haven't really decided what he's called, but there are the apostles, right? Apostles are these people who are frozen. They're standing excruciatingly still for years in this perpetual dream state. And Kaligos, as the dream walker, sort of moves between them. He uses them to travel through dreams. Dreams are like a sort of system of conduits that he uses. But he also uses dreams in that he gets inside your head and, fills you with basically like a high-powered minor illusion type spell. Major illusion. So then the Lord of these apostles, I don't even know if it's a Lord. I think he's more of a wretch. But there is a gargoyle or ghoul-like creature, like almost like a reaper type creature that's dwelling down here, sort of feeding on this blood and being almost like a caretaker or a student or a scholar or a steward of this whole little scene. And so he's going to be this kind of introduction that gets the pressure cooker kicked off, right? So you finally get deep enough to find yourself in this realm. The apostles are all around dreaming, and Kaligos can kind of leap between them, and he almost uses them as clones in a way. And then there beyond, in this sort of river of blood flowing out from this bizarre, like triangular void in this wall of bedrock, there is this Reaper-like character, which gives me a good chance to just talk to my players in character. So I need to take some time to explain some shit, rattle my sword at them, tell them I'm going to kill them all, say, the doom of the world is coming. Give them plenty of gravity food for what they're about to risk their lives to do, right? This could be it. Like, this will be the hardest little stretch of gameplay they have done in these past 11 sessions or so, right? And so I want to give it a lot of gravity, and this character serves as that. He's almost like my master of ceremonies, like my ringmaster, right? He's a speaking character who says, like, step right in. You're about to get your ass torn to pieces. Right? So, again, I feel pretty confident with that guy. I'm going to need him stat him up a little bit because I know they're going to want to fight this guy. So I want to give him some death magic, and I want to give him some vampire type abilities, right? Maybe a mist form that's limited. He doesn't have a coffin really to go to, but he's got a mist form. He's got an incredibly deadly bite. He's like ultra fast. And he's got like, the kind of the open up your throat with the claws move that they always do. He's got like the freaky stare, some of these basics. He's a form of like, underdweller vampire. So I'm going to need to stat him up, have a few ideas for what he's going to say. But, I'm still feeling pretty in control here. Like, yeah, I can make a good pressure cooker. I can make a good vampire battle with my characters and make the terrain pretty cool. And then we have beyond that character, or maybe even brings this next entity into the battle, depending on how things are going and what players want to do. We have what started this whole Kaligos thing in the first place. So a year ago or more, a fan sent me an amazing monster miniature, and it is so amazing that it's been a centerpiece in our household ever since, and has become the sort of the brainstorming food that started this entire campaign concept. And this is Kaligos right here. Kaligos is basically a gigantic, terrifying sort of elder roper. So if you imagine a roper, but the worst roper ever, like something that came from space or something like 1 trillion years ago. And this, Kevin, this is your creation here. So Kevin actually put this in this crazy like box that you grabbed the handle on the top of the box and it split open like something out of the Avengers, and Caligos kind of came up and out of here. Yeah, this is Mr. Roper. So this is Caligos. This is what they're going to be facing. So again, I need to stat this guy, to be ready to have him in play. Need to have an idea for how he's going to work. He's definitely the kind of monster that really just calls for saves a lot, right? So you've got this gargoyle-like vampire, underdweller kind of guy, and he's active as a combatant, and maybe even has like a Renfield kind of sidekick who acts as a tank or as a distraction, as a decoy. But then this thing is more just like it's constantly you got to make saves against this thing. It's not using conventional attacking or something. Like, I don't want to roll tentacle attacks. This is just dumb. So I'm going to be calling for a lot of saves. And also, this is the thing that moves through dreams. It's this thing. So do they destroy it? Do they trick it? Do they distract it? Do they make the rocks collapse on it? Like, everything dies because rocks fall in it. I don't know, but I still feel pretty confident. Then beyond this thing, we have the real Caligos with a capital C. We have this, as I described it, it's sort of a triangular void in the deepest of bedrock. And there is blood trickling from the walls and forming these pools. And you can find more detail about all this stuff. All this stuff lives in the world of Crown and Skull. So when Crown and Skull finally comes out, and I hope y'all pick up a copy, all this stuff lives in there. So these will be statted out, and this whole scene kind of lives in there. But we're the vanguard of playing in these spaces. And often what happens with me and my players is what informs what winds up in the finished book. So that part, I start to feel a little nervous. I can't lie. How do you really bring an abstract geologic evil against heroes in a meaningful way? Now, y'all, I've been playing freaking D&D since I was 12. I mean, we're talking 37 years. That is insane. And I can still say after all that time, I don't know the answer to this question, right? Geologic evil in itself. I mean, I'm going to have to email Seth Skorkowski because he's like the only guy who knows how to do this stuff. How do you even make it interesting? A lot of times, there's madness involved, and there's deception, there's dreams, there's illusions. How do you meaningfully capture such abstract evil at the table? So since I don't really have a super tasty pressure cooker answer that I can control, I gotta admit, I start to not know in a way that makes me nervous as a game master. And I bet every single one of you watching tonight can totally relate to that feeling. So what am I going to do? Well, I think in this case, I'm going to give myself some verbal cues in my notebook. You know me, I either play from index cards or like a paper journal. I really don't even really use usually one book and no digital tools except to play music. And so I think I'll just make some simple sort of verbal little cues. And by cues, what I mean is they aren't even necessarily things I would read to a player or even necessarily things that directly describe what's going on here. They're things that will, in the moment, when this moment comes, will, kind of smack me upside the head. A creative whack is what we used to call it in the 90s. There used to be this crazy thing you could buy called a creative whack pack. And the whack pack was these weird playing cards that creative people, you kind of pull them out and you almost read them like a creative tarot, right? A tarot deck is a great example of a creative whack. It's a kick in the head of a somewhat unexpected concept, but with the context of the moment makes you go, oh, fuck, I hadn't thought about that. Okay. But it doesn't work ahead of time. It only works right there when you're in the heat of the moment, and it's kind of a show must go on mindset, and you kind of just need to trust it. And, I've always had my Think deck as well. Many of you know and love the ICRPG Think deck, which serves this exact same purpose. In the moment, what is this abstract thing? Exactly how does it levy itself? What are its strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that? What are its descriptive cues? What is the Rubik's Cube of this thing that they're down here to confront? And I can use the ICRPG Think deck. I could use a tarot deck. I can use my little verbal cues. But no matter what I'm doing here, I can't fundamentally undo the fact that I kind of just don't know. And hey, Jack, yeah, I did announce. If you guys aren't getting announcements for the streams, definitely follow the community page on my YouTube channel. I guess hit the bell or whatever. So that's where I'm announcing these usually. So if you're not, I also will mention them on Discord and stuff like that. But yeah, the community page, you guys will see me there more and more lately. Now that I don't use the two big social media sites, kind of use YouTube a lot more, and I'm kind of enjoying it quite a lot. So the community posts on YouTube have turned out to be pretty cool, so I'll be using those. So ring that bell, y'all. Like and sub this video to feed the stupid algorithm. Okay, so fundamentally what I wanted to say, though, is that I can use some of these tools to get ready for the moment. To get ready for the moment. And those are comforting words for me, but there's no way to pre-think what this, I don't think anyway, that there's a way for me to pre-think how this is going to go down, or like what will fit. I need to know the energy levels. I need to know, yes, no answers. Remember, we use a D6 at our table to ask huge, like world-shattering yes, no questions. And as a GM, I have to be ready to adapt to those. And yes, Scorpius, I am concluding season 2 of the Dirty Jobs campaign. So we're going to move on to season 3, which I expect to be far longer, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. So, okay, I've gotten to the end of the pressure cooker section of my marathon weekend D&D finale, right? And I'm mostly feeling like, yeah, I got a handle on this. I've got 1 page of notes, and even though it's just 1 page, it feels pretty solid. I feel comfortable. I'm at least ready to, I wouldn't call it improvise, but adapt. I think the word improvise is really overused just for how it relates to me. I like to think of it like as adapting. I adapt to what's happening rather than just make stuff up. I find that I don't make a lot of stuff up. It's more that I adapt to what is being made up in front of me. And I think those are different skills. And so the word improvise may be scary to some. I know it's scary to me. So I kind of stay away from it. I like to think of myself as adaptive. Another great analogy here, or sort of way to think of it, is Dungeon Masterpiece. He describes game mastering like you can study all the different forms of kung fu and karate and jujitsu and judo. You can study every move and every technique, and you can do these repetitions over and over. But when it comes time for the moment, you sort of, only the formless path is really going to get you where you need to be. No pre-prepared structure survives the sort of the unexpected aspects of the moment. And so you may have studied kung fu for ages, but in the moment of the battle, it's the formlessness that you're just going to rely on your tools and your repetitions to kind of come through in a way that you don't really see it coming. But for me, I still feel nervous as fuck. I've been doing this for decades, and I'm still just like, I have no idea what I'm freaking doing over here. So that's why I'm walking through this mental process, okay? So feeling pretty ready to adapt to what this sort of abstract evil confrontation is going to be, right? We're going to be rolling save versus magic quite a lot, and I'm okay with that, because that save has been lying there dormant on our character sheets for all too long, my friend. It's time to bring it to the forefront. So, first part, pretty easy. Going to use Shadowdark tables. We're in a mapless, unknown environment where all of us, me and the players included, are all being surprised, and we're going to roll random encounters till we get enough descent encounters to reach the middle part. In the middle part, I'm going to bring the pressure cooker down with this sort of ghoulish underdweller, which I'm starting to like as his name, and then this abstract, not only Caligos, the elder or ancient roper, the titanic roper, not only that, but the geologic abstraction of evil that is beyond it. And I'm just going to try to be ready and come in with an open mind and spark joy by just adapting to what is going to be awesome in the moment and making sure that we trust the dice completely with how it plays out. Now, we come to the third session of the weekend, which will be the conclusion session, right? And this is going to be the second night. We're going to be at the house, at the Airbnb, and then we'll be leaving the following morning. So this is the end of like, a great boys weekend, and like something we've been talking about for a couple of years now doing, and now we're finally getting around to doing it. And like, This ending's going to need some, like, there's going to need to be a tearjerker. There's going to need to be an unexpected, like, small but quick, like a battle encounter that, I don't know. There's bucket list items of what this could be. And here, and this is what I want to share with you guys. So this part of the session I call the return. And this is where I can't be ready in any way. I have no idea what to do. First of all, what is the outcome of the pressure cooker section? Does everybody die? Do they completely compromise themselves? If you remember Dirty Jobs season 1, that's what started this entire fracas, was that in the final confrontation, they used vampiric transformation to survive a battle with Bloodwing, the dragon. And that's what started all this vampire shenanigans in the first place. So will they pull some shit like that? Straight up flying broom 101 stuff? I just don't know. So what are you going to do, Hankerin? If you just have no freaking clue, what are you just going to make notes like, in the 10 minutes before the final session? Well, yeah. But I do have a couple of notes here. I know that they won't be complete bumblers and have no effect on the world. I know that in my heart. Do I actually have like a priori information that that's the truth? I can't know, but I just know deep down they're going to make a difference. And so I'm going to count on that. And so something in the return, something in the big conclusion to this involves this reprieve from the plague of vampirism. But the reprieve isn't sunshine and butterflies. It's sort of the fall of Blood Manor and the fall of this sort of hidden society of vampires that have been corrupting and negatively affecting things. And they're not going to fall in a pretty way. It's not like poof, and there's like ashes, like, in Endgame, right? Avengers Endgame or Infinity War or whatever. It's not going to be like that. They're going to be nasty. They're going to go out bad. They're going to go out real bad. But they're going to be going out and you're going to feel this shift. Okay, so I've got a note on that. And somehow we'll weave that into either their escape from the mountain, or if they even find a way out, maybe they can find a way to use the dream walking and they can get out that way, or I don't know. I just don't know. But I do know that I like that idea. So I do have that. And then I only have one other thing. And that is whatever we do, I want to alley-oop my players into season 3. And season 3 is when we're really going to be playing directly out of Crown and Skull, which is my new book that's coming. So I know the contents of Crown and Skull, and I know that these players, after this marathon and maybe a month off, are going to be returning to the table with me, and we're going to be diving into Crown and Skull. I know all these things. And so I can control the amount of adaptability I'm going to need to get through this. Whatever happens at the end, I want to alley-oop them into the truths and the dilemmas and the strain of the sort of world-setting stuff that's in Crown and Skull. So are they going to go back to their hometown? Are they going to make it? Are they going to be changed? Are they going to give up? Are they going to wind up sort of, I just don't know. But in that process and in that final session, I think I want to do kind of what I'm suggesting here. This is what's giving me a little more comfort. I do want a tearjerker. There needs to be a tearjerker. We've got our guy Arazam, who's like our dwarven NPC that hangs out with him. We've often had this phrase, the courage of Arazam, like behold the courage of Arazam. So there's always a great scene where one guy has to stay behind so everyone can escape, right? Hold the door and all that good stuff. Usually works as a pretty good tearjerker and very easy to plug in. Sorry, Arazam, but you're definitely on the chopping block right now. You're like one of my mise en place. If this campaign was a chef's workspace, NPCs would be one of my main mise en place. You got NPC mise en place. They kind of rhyme. Anyway, that was a weird digression. So I got the tearjerker, and then I want the unexpected battle. So the unexpected battle is totally one of these vampires or groups of vampires that are not going to go out easily. They're like catching fire. They're pissed off. They're falling apart. Like their wagons are falling apart. Like chasms are cracking open and like hands are coming out of hell to drag these suckers down where they belong. And our heroes just hoping to either get out of the dungeon or cross the landscape or come to their hometown or some point somewhere encounter this shit. And it's an unexpected, gnarly battle. They're so tired of fighting at this point. And I'm going to hit them one last time. So there we go. I got 2 bucket items I kind of know I want to do. And then the last one is the alley-oop. So holy shit. Even though I kind of don't really know much of anything, I've got little wayfinders or little navigation points that can give me the confidence to kind of walk into this. Right? To kind of walk into it feeling like, oh, fuck, this is going to be dope. Because that's what I need. I don't need to know what's going to happen because then it wouldn't be the true essence of what makes fucking tabletop role-playing so damn cool after all these years. It's because it's so collaborative and so unpredictable. So I can't know that. But what I can know is like, well, there's a couple things. There's a couple things that would not only be dope, but are modular or easy to stick in here or there. And I got to keep the details real fuzzy on this so that this piece of film can be stuck anywhere in the movie, so to speak. And I can think to myself, oh, that's going to be pretty dope when they realize that, like, yeah, maybe they fucked up the vampires, but they're not going to go down easy. They're going to be nasty about this. Like, that's just a truth, right? I mean, that's one little note. So now what I wanted to really kind of bring it into the end with is something that I've talked about a lot over the years here on YouTube and wanted to encourage everybody to try it, as I have encouraged so many times in the past. So pardon if this is a repeat for you, but I think one of the absolute essential things for really great game mastering and just having a great time at the table is something that Professor Dungeon Master is really good at, and that Dungeon Masterpiece is really good at. But this is GMing from memory and not from writing. And sometimes if you're GMing from memory, it can feel a little bit like things are being made up. And that's why it's always important to have a couple notes and a few index cards in front of you, because you want artifacts that show that there is reality to this world. You're not just flim-flamming. But if your notes are so short and so compact that you can remember them, I don't need to have a photographic memory of stats. I can look at those all I need. But you know the thing I remember? Even if the vampires are brought down, they're not going to go down easy. It's going to be nasty. They're catching on fire. They're falling apart. All their tech is falling apart. You know, the ghosts of hell come and they want their due. They want to drag them down into perdition and all that good stuff. I can just remember that because it's a short, compact concept. Now, like, exactly where are the rocks that you can hide behind? Where is the pillar that the bad guy comes out from behind? You know, what kind of area effect is my sort of monster going to use to keep the battle moving around? Because moving battles are the best ones. I'm not sure. I don't have the mental space to remember all that stuff. That's why I can have notes. But what I use my memory for is these mood points, these tone things, the things that make it sick and awesome and cool and gravitational. And if you guys have played Macbeth with Professor Dungeon Master, you know how this fool can just crank this stuff out of the blue. And partially because he's done it a lot of times, so he can do it from memory. But it's kind of like an actor who knows his lines, right? You just compartmentalize and use your own tricks to remember things, and then you can just bring it seamlessly. And everyone will have this skill in different degrees. Some people are better with their notes. Some people have more technical, numeric, stat-heavy encounters, and some have more theatrical. Some do like a lot of crazy voices, and some people, you know, don't do a lot of voices. They talk about NPCs saying things in the third person. All these can be combined in a million different ways. And I think the skill of being able to bang it out of memory, the key parts are just in memory. They're not necessarily something you need to be looking at. For me, always helps to maintain like a lot of energy and a lot of tension and a lot of crazy, basically, at the table, especially if you want to go for something like a tearjerker. Really important to be highly adaptable for me and in the moment and working from a lot of different pieces of memory from multiple sessions and everything to make tearjerkers really work. And I know I'm throwing that word around, but it really is one of the most sublime moments, as many of you know, in the hobby, is when you get an honest to God tearjerker at the table. Okay, so that's my plan. And those are the methods that I'm going to use to give myself this feeling of not necessarily knowing what's going to happen, but knowing that I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna have it covered. Right? I'm ready. I'm as ready as I can be. There, that's a great way to look at it. So at the end of all this crazy marathon, we're going to be alley-ooped into the world of Crown and Skull. We're going to take a break, and then season 3 will begin. And we'll also be playing in the Crown and Skull system, which my players are super, super excited to change gears and do that. And so we'll be doing all that stuff. So that alley-oop, I think, will be the easy part. That's just going to be conversation with my friends and getting excited about our next chapter. So that is, in a nutshell, what I'm going to be doing this weekend and how I'm kind of getting ready for it with my GM Seon mode. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. And next week, I'll come back onto YouTube and I'll let you know how it went. Probably have a bumper crop of photos to share. And so I'll figure out a way to share all of those. And that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about on tonight's live stream. So I hope that me just reporting what I do is helpful and inspirational to y'all. If you're like me, where you're just like a sort of a blue collar GM, you know, you're banging out sessions week after week after week. For me, I don't necessarily look like for heady advice or, you know, clever, crazy game modifications. We have so many of those, I can barely hold on to them. What I look for is this kind of almost like conditioning, almost like a mental conditioning to creatively prepare you for the unpreparable. And that's what I wanted to talk about tonight right here on Runehammer. You guys got to keep up with me. Jump over to runehammer.online and sign up. There's a little thing that says subscribe. That way you'll get an alert when I'm posting blogs. I'm like really coming back to the blog zone. I just did a blog about ruining things in your world, about how to destroy equipment in your world. And going to be getting back on the blog, but you got to sign up if you want to get an alert when the blogs come out. And that's where I'll be doing a lot of my kind of weekly writing. And major, major props to my man Jay and my man Q, who I'm keeping a little bit of anonymity for them just to respect them. But these are my homies who are now part of the Runehammer think tank. They are actually like professional paid homies who are helping me figure out all the Runehammer stuff. I'm so bad at internet stuff. So thank you guys so much for what you've done so far. You know what's up. I don't have to tell them what's up. But if you guys see the Runehammer universe like really improving in its completion and its flow and its technical prowess in the months to come, it's because of these two guys that are helping me out. So I owe them big time. And the podcast will be returning, Kevin. RPG Mainframe is far from dead. Right now, that thinking that used to go into RPG Mainframe will probably be living in my blog. And maybe we'll get back to the audio podcast someday too. I love doing audio stuff. It's really fun. But as I've said so many times on YouTube, this isn't, to me, really the core of what I do. So if I seem underproduced, I mean, look at it. It's just a live stream. You're just in my room. It's not even like there's no ring light. There's no cool lighting, because this isn't the core of what I do. The core of what I do is write, and you will be seeing me do more and more of that in the coming months, thanks to these two guys who are helping me out and letting me focus on what it is I really love doing the most, which is just banging out the writing. That is what I wanted to do all along. That's been my goal since I was like 7 years old, and I am almost there. I'm so close. So before we get into the Q&A, get those questions ready. Put a question in all caps and hop over to runehammer.online and subscribe there so that I can holler at you when something cool comes up, okay? And also, yeah, props. Good point, Passage. A lot of great, creative, awesome people in the stream tonight, from amazing YouTubers like House DM. I loved his videos, but I think I had watched like maybe 8 of them or something. I didn't know that there were so many, so I went back. I love the one with no attack rolls and no hit points. Like spoiler alert on Crown and Skull with that kind of stuff. But a lot of these YouTubers that we're seeing in here, totally awesome. And we also have straight up creators in here like my man John Harper and others. So thanks you guys for tuning in. Your presence is much appreciated. And I don't know about y'all, but we're definitely in a different chapter now. Like 2023 is coming in hot. And maybe it's because like WotC D&D is like face planting so hard, but I don't know why. There's a cool different vibe going on this year with like this kind of family jam on like indie D&D, hermetic D&D, whatever you want to call it. The family jam is dope, man. I'm feeling this stuff. It's groovy. So hell yeah to that. But anyway, so if anybody had any questions, comments, ridicule, or praise, like throw them up before I get out of here and go have myself a taco bowl. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, Tukey G, 5e isn't what's face planning. That's not what I said. 5e is going strong. It's the sort of the parent company that's having some issues, but I still think vast legions of players see 5th edition as what D&D is. And if you want to change it over time, do the Trojan horse, man. Go check out my blog about doing a Trojan horse to change your system. It works. Yeah, Kevin, what's up? When do we see Crown and Skull for public consumption? Well, you guys know me. I do the, no wine before it's time type approach. So I never set deadlines on anything. So what I'm going to need to do is get Crown and Skull to a 1.0, get it to the table with as many people, as many sessions as I have time and patience for, get all the proofreading done. I've got professional proofreaders this time, and then get it ready to release and all that stuff. So how long does that take? I'm not sure, but I'm really not in a rush. Also because just sort of the landscape right now. We've got Shadowdark and Knave 2nd edition to enjoy the hell out of this spring and into summer. And I want to enjoy the hell out of that stuff. I'm not in a big hurry to cram Crown and Skull into that before I've really had fun with those 2 books, because I really believe in both those books. And yo, thanks Dan for the kick down, for a little bit of beer money. Appreciate that. Yeah, statement. I like it. Well done. Good form. Good form. So yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, an awkward question. Tips on writing for games. Just there's not an easy answer here, but like writing, and more writing, then writing some more, and writing in different forms as well, like writing as an instructional kind of voice. And John Harper knows this all too well. Like that instructional voice is a more technical kind of dry voice, but then your fiction voice has a little bit more spice on it. And then sometimes you also will get into dialogue voice, which is extra spicy and flim flammy and crazy. And like developing these different voices and finding what you're good at, there's only one freaking way to do it, and it's just through repetitions. And also, do your research too. Like learn from the masters that you like, and look for your voice, what's unique and sort of, I wouldn't say easy, but what comes naturally to you when you're writing. Again, sorry to pick on John, but if you read like Blades and you read Agon and stuff, like you can feel his voice in there, and that takes development and that takes work. Another person who's really brilliant with this is Luke Crane. So when you read Burning Wheel, it's like a person sort of talking to you, like a weird kind of obscure, obsequious weirdo person, but a person. And that comes with time and practice and diligence and attention to craft. And when that voice starts to really come together, boy, that's when you start to get power. Be it specializing in stuff like narrative or dialogue or even instructional writing or game design writing, like writing rules. All these are kind of like different voices. And it's just repetition. Or as my old Tai Chi teacher used to say, practice isn't good enough. It must be perfect practice. Jerk. Do I follow game rules that I adapt? I'm not sure what you mean. No. I'm a hyper chaotic person. Our group runs a game that is an amalgam of rules from all over the internet and the world of books and the decades, and we take what we like and we use what we want and we toss the rest. And we have a form of hermetic D&D that is our particular madness that I would not particularly want to instruct anyone in. It's what lives at our table. It's our precious secret. And that to me is a core part of what doing this is about, is creating that and not even really telling anybody. Not everything needs to be for broadcast or for revelation or for telling others. It can be just for those who were there, and that's okay. How to prepare for the unpreparable? Well, that was the subject of tonight's whole stream. So see previous 45 minutes. Carol Singleton, what's for dinner, Hankerin? I said, taco bowl. You got to get that cauliflower rice, avocado. Get yourself some mango salsa beans. You know what I'm saying? You chop up all your little goody vegetables. Get in there, spicy. You know what I'm saying? Get your chip. Taco bowl. That's what's up. I gotta get out of here. Well, let's field a few more. But I hope tonight's stream made sense for everybody. It's good to be back on YouTube. And I'll be back early next week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, with the sort of post-game report on how the whole marathon went down and let you know what's up with all this. As you guys know, I'm kind of making a shift a little bit away from doing cons in the traditional sense, and I'm putting what used to be my resources for cons into these type of events, which are more like Airbnbs with close friends to play in a highly immersive environment. I realized that's kind of what I was looking for from cons and never getting. So I'm going to take action. I'm going to change my own fate and make my luck and have a lot of these fun kind of getaway style immersive play events. I don't even know what to call them yet. We were calling them camps, but not all of them are like camps. This one's just a straight up dudes weekend. But hey, dope. If there aren't a bunch of questions flying around for tonight, that makes my life all the easier. I can stroll out of here and eat my dinner and have a cold one and watch some TV like a normal person. That's totally not true. I'll completely have my laptop on the couch and I'll have weird blankets and be like, oh, I'm endlessly fascinated and must continue to write things about things. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Catch up with me online. Remember, never be shy to email me directly. I'm hankerin.fernail@gmail.com on all the different things. You'll see me all over the place. And John, thanks for tuning in. Good to see y'all. You guys, remember, keep it real. Do not steal. You will always get a deal. I know there's some crazy shit going on in the world. And remember, we do these little islands of fun, not to ignore all the strife in the world, but to, keep the torch of happiness alight. Get out there and help somebody if you can. Make the world a little bit better, okay? And I will see you guys next week on the other side of this crazy marathon. So I'll probably have like a black eye and like one finger will be backwards and like a rip in my shirt like Captain Kirk and be kind of at least that's what I imagine it to be. So I'll see you then. All right, you guys, take it easy. Later. Phantom pain, phantom power, phantom pain, phantom power. Birds. 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 Turn on the phantom power. Birds. Turn on the phantom pain. Birds. You need phantom power if your microphone doesn't have its own power.